A homeless man was sitting in his old coat on the street, blown by the cold winter winds. He had a small paper cup next to him, waiting in the hope of a few coins to be dropped in. His face was tired, his eyes looked resentful of life. The man who once pursued his dreams, had a job, and was able to provide for his family, was now trying to survive on the streets. His clothes were old, his shoes were worn out. But how worn out could a worn-out man be? He had been alone on the streets many times and had built shelters from old newspapers by the river. But now all this seemed like a familiar life to him. When people passed by, none of them looked at him. No one noticed, no one heard. Perhaps this was what he feared most, not being noticed by anyone. Where once he had tasted success and lived a life admired by people, he had now become a person alone on the streets, wishing to help a child or a woman. At that moment, a mother and her child were passing by on the corner of the street. The child was holding his mother's hand tightly and was watching the toys in the display windows carefully. There was a big dream in his eyes, that colorful and big teddy bear. For a moment, his joy had burst out of his eyes, but then his mother's sad look quickly disappointed him. At that moment, the little boy's desire to buy the bear remained only a dream. The man saw the little boy's sad look. He slowly reached into his pocket. He felt the last few coins he had left inside. He could have bought a slice of bread with that money. But he decided to spend that money for a child's smile. Without thinking, he slowly stood up and headed towards the toy store. He handed the cashier the last coin he had from his wallet and took the big bear. He opened the door of the store and walked towards the child. He dreamed of seeing the hope in the child's eyes again. "Hey, little friend," he said, approached the child, smiled at him, and handed him the teddy bear. "I bought this for you." The boy's eyes widened. He looked at the teddy bear first, then at the man, not knowing what to do. Is this mine?" he whispered. The man nodded and smiled. "Yes, you are. I always want to see you smile." The boy hugged the teddy bear in surprise. "Thank you, Uncle," he said, his eyes shining. At that moment, his mother, her eyes filled with tears, realized how generous the man was. As his mother approached the man to thank him, a large black limousine suddenly stopped. A man inside was watching out the window of the car. It was Donald Trump. He began to watch what was happening right next to him. He turned to his assistant. "Learn more about this man," he said. The assistant quickly got out of the limousine and approached the homeless man. "Mr. Trump wants to see you," he said politely. The man looked up in surprise. "Trump?" he mumbled. But everything happened very quickly and the limousine door opened. Trump stuck his head out the door and invited the man in. "You watched me, didn't you?" Trump said. "My eyes don't miss a thing. I really appreciate what you did." The homeless man bowed his head, a little emotionally shaken. "I just wanted this kid to be happy," he said in a shaky voice. Trump noticed the sincerity in the man's eyes. He slowly pulled a checkbook out of his jacket pocket and held it up. He quickly signed the checkbook and handed it to the man. The homeless man's eyes widened when he saw the amount written on the check. $100,000. "Are you really giving this to me?" he asked in surprise. Trump smiled. "Yes, but this is just the beginning. Do you want a job? You can work with me. Besides, we need good people like you." Tears welled up in the man's eyes. He had felt worthless as a human being for years, but now someone had given him a chance. "Yes, really?" he said excitedly. "I'll do anything. I won't miss this chance." Trump immediately turned to the aide next to him. "Take him on the team right away," he said. The aide hurriedly took down the homeless man's information. This incident quickly became a major media sensation. Videos were shared online. People everywhere were talking about the homeless man's story. They were amazed by the man's sacrifice, by the kindness Trump had shown him. "The most valuable thing in life is to do good," many wrote. The man had once lived a life full of disappointments, but now he had found the greatest opportunity of his life. And without expecting anything in return, just by doing good,